Okay, good morning and or afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are. And thank you so much for being here today. This year's IHL YAC National Symposium gives everyone an opportunity to present how they were able to spread awareness and create change based on this year's theme, which is how the environment can be damaged by armed conflict and how the law protects it. We are also excited to have everyone here today, and you will hear about each presenter's campaign year as well as their takeaways. And before we get started, I want to briefly remind you that you could definitely use the chat, and we will have a Q&A session at the end today. And I want to briefly introduce the four of us who will be leading this event. So I'm Rebecca Lee from the North Central Division, and I'm based in Indiana.
Hi, I'm Anika Nair, and I'm from the North Texas region. I'm based in Plano, Texas.
Hi, my name is Choi David, and I'm part of the Southeastern Massachusetts region, and I'm based in Sharon, Massachusetts.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Debra. I'm part of the North Texas region based in Frisco, Texas. With my introduction, I am excited to introduce our first presenter, Kirpa Cannon from Plano East Senior High School, Texas, representing Abstract in Green. Kirpa was in charge of updating the website, social media, and every time the team would change the name. At one point, it was called Eco Warriors, but eventually stuck with Abstract in Green, portraying all the abstract ways that the team took part in service, awareness, and most importantly, advocacy. It actually took the team over a month to come up with the team name. The Youth Action Campaign has introduced her to the vast network of young scholars around the country and steps they're taking to change the world. She appreciates being able to collaborate with different teams and learning their approach, which was very insightful for her, in addition to the large impact that everyone made by just being a part of an important movement.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Kirpa Cannon, and I was the events director and the technology lead for the Abstract in Green IHL team. Today, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what motivated me to join IHL, in addition to awareness and service events that we had, and then some partnerships that we helped make as well. So starting off with my motivation, it really comes from the children and the families who have to live in a damaged environment left by armed conflict. The consequences, such as deforestation, pollution, destruction of infrastructure, and contamination of water sources, have a direct impact on children's health, well-being, and just overall development. And we raised awareness about all of this and more in our IHL Youth Action Campaign this past year. So starting off with awareness events, we reached almost 1,155 people. This first picture is us in our AP Government class, and it doesn't stop there. We did awareness events at Diwali events, religious gatherings, Red Cross Club collabs, presentations to the Next Generation Nations and UNICEF clubs at Plano East Senior High School. We helped host a blood drive with over 40 participants, an introduction webinar to IHL where we played a Kahoot and just introduced the members to it. And then lastly, another presentation during an advisory class at Centennial High School. But in addition to all of this, I think our greatest awareness event was speaking at the EarthX International Conference. If you want to watch what we said and just a little bit about how armed conflict affects the environment, you can go on EarthX TV and our recording should be there. So for our service activities, we reached almost 1,230 people. This first picture is part of a bake sale we did in collaboration with the One Jama charity, which I'll get to a little bit later. This first screen shows an event that I hosted at my school called the Service Extravaganza, where we made cards for first responders, healthcare workers, environmental infographics, origami trees, and really anything that you see in these pictures. This first screen shows environmental posters we made with the UNICEF Club, and this picture shows a collab we did with the PB and Joy Club, where we made almost 1,530 sandwiches for the Five Loaves Food Pantry. And while they were making sandwiches and we were helping out, we were just sharing information about IHL in the process. These two pictures show cards that we made for armed veterans and current military service members through amillionthanks.org. These two photos show an trash pickup that we hosted in December with almost 50 participants collecting over 200 pounds of trash in very cold weather, according to Texans. And these two photos are from the North Texas Food Bank, where we made almost 18,000 meals to be sent to Uganda, to families there. And it was really great to spread awareness about IHL to all of the volunteers that signed up to volunteer that day with us. And lastly, but definitely not least, I organized the Service Spectacular, which had almost 150 to 200 students in attendance, with 10 different service stations ranging from making dog toys to blankets to motivational posters for children's hospitals to painting, and really anything that spread awareness about the environment to the community. And we also made informational videos, as you can see. Lastly, I just want to hit some of the partnerships we did. The first one being the One Drama charity I mentioned before, also shown in the screenshots below. We did a collab with them and made a podcast about what help they need in their current situation as well. And we also raised $150 through our bake sale that we did to donate to them. The next one, Operation Support Our Troops, as well as MAP International and not pictured here, Salvation Army. In all of these three fundraisers that we did, we raised over $1,000 total to be sent to these respective organizations. And then last but not least, 1 million thanks, which is where we sent the letters for the armed veterans and the current military service members. So that's all I had today, but thank you so much for listening. And if you liked what we stand for, please follow us on social media. We have an Instagram, TikTok, and a YouTube. We try to be pretty regular on those. And we also have a website if you want to see how you can get more involved or see past events that we've had. Thank you so much.
That was a great presentation, even though it was a video, but our next presenter will be Cara Elsie from Yakima, Washington, representing IHL Yakima Youth. She co-founded the team a couple of years ago with Joshua J. She really is passionate about humanitarian work and learning about global issues, as she wanted to create a team that would suffice that. Cara and her team were particularly interested in the theme of IHL and the environment because of the importance the environment has in Yakima, which is the rural town that grows 70% of the nation's apples, 42% of the nation's pears, and 79% of the nation's hops. She grew up in a place where the environment is so essential to the local community, and which made Cara and her team especially interested in this year's theme. Participating in IHL YAC has continued to shape Cara's dedication to humanitarian work and reinforced her passion for teaching others about critical global issues like IHL.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about what my team did for our IHL YAC campaign this year, and I'm really excited to share everything with you. Next slide. So I'm the only one who could be here today, but I did want to spotlight my other two team members, Joshua and Jason. Like was mentioned before, Joshua was the co-founder of this team with me, and I would not have been able to do it without them. So I wanted to give a little shout out to them before we got into the rest of the presentation. So our campaign was, like everyone else, we really wanted to focus on international humanitarian law and the environment, but we really wanted to try to tie it to current world events that were happening right now and use that as kind of a catalyst to get people more interested in this topic, because international humanitarian law is something that sounds a bit intimidating sometimes, and sometimes people are like, well, I don't know what that is. Like, that's a lot of big words. What does that mean? And so using current world events is a really good way to kind of ease people into the topic and bring awareness to why IHL is important and why it's important for citizens to know. And so we really wanted to focus on real life examples of when IHL is applicable and examples of when IHL is applicable right now. So we really drew in the Ukraine war, and we did a case study event talking about these are different instances, throughout history and in modern history as well, where IHL has been applicable and it has had a tangible impact on these different communities or these different historical incidents. Another thing that we wanted to do was we wanted to use pop culture to explain international humanitarian law, again, as a way to kind of ease people into the topic. So we did some pop culture events where we talked about different movies, like Dune and The Hunger Games were two really big ones that we talked about that were really popular, to kind of show, okay, look at this scenario in a book that you've read or a movie that you've seen, and think about that in the context of IHL and how IHL would influence that. So that was really fun, and those events were some of our most popular. So yeah, we completed a total of 13 events and we had over 8,800 views and over 370 engagements. And for in-person events, we counted an engagement as people who came up and asked us a question after they viewed our presentation. And so yeah, our 13 events were a mix of virtual and in-person. And so 3 of our events were virtual and the other 10 were in-person. And we also, one of our kind of events that wasn't like one specific event, we hosted the IHL Yakima Youth Art Contest, where we prompted contestants to create a work of art based around the intersection of international humanitarian law and the environment. And it was really fun to see what everyone came up with. And we had a prize for the first place winner. And that was a really fun contest. We partnered with local businesses to promote it, and we got some different local businesses to donate items to our prize that the first place winner ended up getting. So that was a really fun way to get more community engagement beyond just the different high schools that we interacted with. And the next couple of slides are just examples of some presentations and posts that we did that I thought you guys might be interested in seeing. So you can see the white square, that was one of our posts about the art contest. And on the left side of the screen, those are slides from our presentations that we did at the high schools talking about direct versus indirect protections and different things like that. Next slide, please. These are some more examples that I thought you guys might be interested in seeing. And next slide, please. Yeah, so you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, there's an example of the Dune presentation that we did where we talked about how IHL and the environment relate to Dune. And up in the top left-hand corner, that was a booth that we had during lunch at one of the high schools that we work with. One of their lunches, they let us have a booth that we went to a couple of days, and we had a lot of people come up. You can see we had a raffle and we had some candy. So that was a really fun event. And yeah. Next slide, please. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was how we created our campaign. Like I said, there was only 3 of us, so we really had to try to leverage our strengths to try to create a cohesive, effective campaign. So each of us kind of figured out our strengths and really focused on trying to do what we could in those areas. So for example, I was the strongest with writing and research, whereas Joshua was the strongest public speaker. And so he really did a lot of the public speaking at the different events. And Jason was the best at innovating ideas for social media engagement and rallying in-person engagement. Like it was his idea to do the raffle during the lunches and stuff. And so, yeah, we really worked hard to make interesting presentations and set up marketing for our events. Like we worked with local businesses to promote our events and coordinated with the staff and the teachers of local high schools to do different classroom events. We did a lot of lectures during history class. We did we did presentations during their current events classes and stuff like that. So we just really wanted to get as many engaging activities as possible to reach as many people as we could. But thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for listening to me talk about our campaign. We're really excited to start working on next year's campaign. And again, thank you everyone for coming.
All right, thank you so much, Cara, for that amazing presentation. That was awesome. Our next presenter will be Lauren Coe from Brea Olinda High School in the Southern California region. She is a junior, and she formed her team when the former chapter president of her school's Red Cross Club offered the opportunity to start an IHL campaign on her campus, and she decided to take on that opportunity. Her team spent lots of time planning and forming activities as well as lessons for IHL since November, and she had her team they were very aware of how hard it could be to gain an active audience, which is exactly why they hope to keep growing their campaign every single year to leave a lasting impact. Her favorite part of campaigning was the connection she felt with her participants. So Lauren, take it away.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for that introduction. And hi, everyone. My name is Lauren, and I am the lead advocate for the Brea Olinda High School International Humanitarian Law Youth Action Campaign. Attending a school with 4 parts to its name, plus a lengthy campaign description, used to feel like a mouthful, but I've gotten used to it, thankfully, after rehearsing it often. I'm from Southern California, where I thought the theme of the environment and armed conflict is especially important in terms of climate change, because especially recently, we've certainly been feeling the heat, and it's not a good sign about the direction we're taking our planet in. Therefore, I'm glad we got the chance to advocate for a focus on environmental issues through the lens of IHL and armed conflict. To begin, I wanted to highlight some of our most significant accomplishments. Next slide, please. Thank you. First, we launched our campaign on January 11th at the American Red Cross chapter building in Orange County, where nearly 80 people were in attendance to watch our slideshow introducing our cause. We then explained a game where participants role-played as members of the International Criminal Court to make decisions about whether certain acts violated international humanitarian law, and additionally, if it met the criteria of long-term, widespread, and severe environmental damage. To make the games a bit more engaging and interactive, we split the large group into 3 rooms so that more people would have a chance to be heard. Another accomplishment was promoting IHL over the school intercom system. What made this significant to us was the timing that we decided to deliver this message. We worked extensively emailing, meeting, and preparing with school administration because they've never let a club, let alone a small new campaign, present over the school broadcast. The day of this announcement came a day off from exactly 1 year of the beginning of the Russia-Ukrainian war, and 2 weeks after the 7.3 magnitude earthquake that devastated refugee-torn countries, Turkey and Syria. We intended to deliver this message at a prevalent time, which was February 23rd, around the time Red Cross and Turkish Red Crescent teams were aiding people by providing living essentials during this environmentally and war-torn disaster. We briefly reached 1,800 people with this announcement, but have even greater ambitions for next year. Next time, we hope to expand this project to the school's newspaper and news channel and find ways to gather donations and supplies to actually send to refugee organizations. And the last achievement I wanted to share on this slide was how we won the outreach contest that required the most participants and social media engagements reached. Based on statistics that were shared during our bi-weekly lead advocate meetings, the Southern California region actually won as a whole. And within Southern California, we won first place. And this would not have been possible without teamwork and true dedication. Some methods that we used to grow our campaign was creating a shared drive and Instagram page. In the drive, we organized all of our planning files and presentations, as well as the extensive amounts of notes that we took researching IHL and its environmental implications. And on the topic of the environment, I wanted to share our social media where we created all of our posts to fit this green color scheme, kind of just to represent the environment. And I think this visual appeal may have contributed to the many engagements and impressions that we received on the platform. Throughout the many months we devoted to this campaign, next slide, please. Thank you. So throughout the many months we spent, I can't emphasize this enough, we spent so much time behind the scenes just planning, whether it was at Whole Foods, which is a grocery store with a good convenient study spot, or the car, or at home, on meetings, and even presenting in front of the school. We spent so much time planning and sharing our purpose. And something that really helped was creating prizes as kind of an attribute of coming to our events and showing an effort to learn more about IHL. We really wanted to emphasize this to our regular citizens, our regular classmates who may not be so familiar with the topic of international humanitarian law, but we made it a little bit more engaging and fun for them to be a part of. Next slide, please. Okay, so throughout the many months that we devoted to this campaign, my team agreed on 3 main takeaways, which were the importance of collaboration, of dedication, and accommodation. And I think throughout this slideshow, I've demonstrated how in our biggest events, we kind of put forward these skills. For example, in collaboration, we spent lots of time planning together, countless amounts of Zoom calls and in-person meetings to put together our events and prizes. And then dedication was shown through our persistent efforts to keep people engaged in a challenging topic to grasp for the majority. And then accommodation, such as in this picture on the screen, where there were lots of people in the room, but we wanted to demonstrate a game. So we split them into several groups, meaning everyone got the chance to share their thoughts and speak their viewpoints on IHL. So those are just the main things I wanted to show from my campaign, and I'm very grateful that we had this opportunity to share at National Symposium. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation, Lauren. With that being said, our next presenter will be Franco Morales, representing For a Better World. Franco attends American Academy and is in 11th grade. Him and his teammates were specially handpicked to participate in the IHL YAC team by the president of the American Red Cross and American Academy. He joins the IHL YAC team because he had seen last year's campaign in his school and thought it would be a great opportunity to grow as a leader and give back to the community. While actively participating in the IHL YAC team, he learned the importance of being proactive and of the American Red Cross and IHL. Lastly, his favorite part of the campaign was interacting with his community and making it a better place. With that being said, take it away.
Thank you very much, Lipika, for that amazing introduction. I also wanted to mention before my presentation that the name For a Better World, it reflects the passion of my 11 team members and me for making our community and world a better place in general, whether it be cleaning it up or simply educating it. All right, then let's get on with the presentation. Here we can see some examples of the events that we did, or some of the events that we did during our campaign. The first one is a PowerPoint called The Environment During Times of Armed Conflict. With this PowerPoint, we were able to introduce and explain IHL and its function to my school's student body and the staff, the team of staff. The second one is my personal favorite activity was the beach cleanup in Punta Santiago, Humacao. We visited Punta Santiago specifically because it is a beach that simulates the same state that any other beach would be if it was used for military practice exercises or armed conflict. In fact, it is near a place that was used for military training, and that is why it is a very polluted beach, both the waters and the sand. And the last one is a interview video with the coordinator of the National Honor Society of my school. The coordinator, she made a community garden. And because of that, we wanted to interview her about the importance of being prepared during times of armed conflict and times of scarcity of resources, and how a home garden can help, of course. Next slide, please. Here we can see some pictures of Punta Santiago and us presenting the PowerPoint. I also wanted to mention in the bottom right, you can see some palm trees on the ground. This is caused by erosion that is triggered by some pollutants in the water and in the sand. You can also see, if you look closely, a tire there. That tire specifically was very difficult to extract from the sand, and it took all the 11 people there to actually extract it. And I just thought that was a fun little anecdote there. Also, I wanted to mention that last year's representative for the Southeast and Caribbean region, Jose Juan Dalmau, worked on this campaign as well, hand in hand with me. And I wanted to say that it was an amazing experience. Next slide, please. Here you can see what we learned. In general, we learned we gained a deeper understanding of IHL and the Red Cross and their importance for our environment and to communities, how they can help them rise up from ruin or even simply protect them from anything happening to them. On a little bit of a more personal note as well, I think I speak for all of my team members as well when I say that we learned the importance of teamwork and proactivity. Without them, we could not have reached where we are now. And if I had to give advice for anyone else for the future, it would be proactivity. Be proactive, be dedicated to what you're doing so you can make a quality campaign. Next slide. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you, Franco, for that amazing presentation. Our next presenter will be Kaylee Ponder, representing the University of North Florida's Youth Action Campaign Team. Kaylee is a senior at the University of North Florida. She got involved with the Youth Action Campaign program because her professor, who was teaching a course called Global Environmental Justice, mentioned the program to her class. Through the program, she learned more about international humanitarian law and the impacts that armed conflict has made on the environment and the populations within it. Her favorite part of campaign was creating LinkedIn polls to test the public's knowledge on climate change, international humanitarian law, and the impacts that armed conflicts can have on the environment.
Thank you for the introduction. So hi everyone, my name is Kaylee Ponder. I am from the North Florida region, and I will be representing the University of North Florida Youth Action Campaign Team. So for the in-person events, we were not able to do actual in-person events, but we did create a virtual presentation for people to watch, and we provided them with a pre-presentation survey and post-presentation quiz. So there was participation involved for the activities. Our presentation covered what we learned in Module 2 and 3 of the YAC Advocate Handbook. This includes what international humanitarian law is and its 4 principles, climate change and the consequences that armed conflict has on it, the legal protection of the environment, and the real world examples that show us how armed conflict can harm the environment. And regarding our audience, the participation, our participants were our fellow college students. I sent the presentation, survey, and quiz to 2 professors at my college. One taught an international law and organizations course, and the other taught a course called Global Issues in Contemporary Politics. And they both assigned this activity as an extra credit assignment. And next slide, please. And so for the social media activities, I used LinkedIn to create polls that tested the public's assumptions and knowledge on armed conflict, environmental issues, and international humanitarian law. LinkedIn is the only social media I use, so that's why it was the only one that we used in the campaign. And for the next slide, you can see the polls that I created. I posted 1 to 2 polls every week. And after each poll closed, I did leave a comment informing people of the correct answer. So pertaining to engagement and views from our activities, we had 10 LinkedIn polls. In total, there were 36 votes on all the polls, and altogether the polls received 2,314 impressions, which is basically views. And for the virtual presentation, we were able to have 31 people participate in the activity. And for what we learned from the campaign, we learned that volunteering can help with professional development. This campaign allowed us to hone in our teaching and leadership skills. In addition, we learned that when problems arise, we can overcome them and still be successful. We faced several problems when we were trying to plan activities, but in the end, everything turned out okay, and we were happy. And we're happy that we're able to share our campaign with you. Thank you for listening.
All right, that was a great presentation, Kaylee. So next up, we have Jacob Matthew, Addie Pungle, Alex Matthew, and Margaret Clayton, who are representing the Liberal Arts and Science Academy's Youth Action Campaign Team. Jacob was a part of LAS's campaign team last year, and he recruited new members to become involved with the Youth Action Campaign program this year. Their team consists of 23 advocates. This year, their team learned about international humanitarian law and how to create an effective campaign. Their favorite part of the campaign was meeting new people from around the school and talking about IHL.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jacob.
My name is Addie.
My name is Alex.
And we are part of the Central and South Texas region, also known as the C-Star region. And we can't wait to show you what we did this year.
Oh, Margaret, I think we're having some technical difficulties. We cannot hear you. It's okay.
I can step in real quick.
Yeah.
So for our in-person events, we hosted a variety of games and activities to get people interested in the topic. We had a bake sale and we sold treats. We handed out pamphlets of information about the Red Cross and IHL and the environmental conflicts. Our pamphlets had a crossword puzzle containing key terms to make the pamphlet more interactive for people who walked by it and picked them up. And the bake sale took place at a local park to reach out to people outside of our school. And we raised $106 for the IHL program. Later in the year, we hosted a field event that helped students at our school understand how IHL and the laws of warfare worked in a fun and hands-on way. And to do this, we set up a capture the flag game, including doctors and environmentally protected areas that the players had to avoid.
We also hosted events like Jeopardy, where we quizzed people about scenarios where IHL could be applied to. During the game, we gave cookies as rewards to people that answered the questions first, increasing the number of interactions we got for the game. In addition, we had a documentary night where we showcased the documentary Footprints of War, which talked about war's effect on the environment. We connected this topic to IHL to show what IHL seeks to prevent. We helped many other events, and through these events, we reached over 500 people. Next slide.
For the social media part of our campaign, we used Instagram to promote our club at LASA and ask questions about IHL, to which the viewer could respond or put engaging facts about IHL. You can see our story views here, and in total, we had 1,293 views, 216 likes, and 48 comments throughout our different posts and stories. This was a giant upgrade from last year.
Our new team learned about international humanitarian law and how to create an effective campaign. Although our club was part of the virtual symposium in 2021, this year the majority of our members were new advocates. We learned that we should have started recruiting in the earlier fall months. Additionally, once we had a member trained, they should have immediately gotten involved in the campaign. Since we had over 20 advocates this year, we waited to split our members into smaller groups until the final advocates completed their training. Next time, we'll create groups based on when people complete training, and then we can always reorganize groups later. We could have also started our social media campaign earlier, and we could have been more consistent with our postings. Next year, we will create more attractive and creative events, advertise our events earlier and on multiple platforms to attract more people, and provide longer planning periods needed for some events to be more successful. Next slide. Thank you guys for listening to our presentation.
All right, thank you so much. Next up, we have Natalie Kim and Mahadi Darimpati from the Pacific Division, Los Angeles region. Their team name was the Territory 1 Northern Valleys IHL YAC team. Natalie is a rising senior at Chaminade College Preparatory High School, and Mahati is a rising junior at West Ranch High School. They're currently both members of the Northern Valleys Executive Board. Natalie is serving as the president, and Mahati is serving as the International Services Service to the Armed Force Officer. Their favorite part of campaigning was the diverse avenues of engagement they received, from the fact sheets they spread across their territory during Earth Week to the IHL pizza party they held during a Red Cross event. Natalie finds the intersection of environmental sustainability and community health outcomes to be very intriguing as someone who is interested in public health. She hopes to take the lessons learned from this campaign into her future endeavors as she aspires to pursue a career in medicine as a physician. Mahati has always been interested in policy, and the intersection of law and the International Red Cross was one that she did not know existed, but became immediately interested in. Mahati is planning to pursue a degree in international law and knows that the lessons she learned from IHL will carry on to her future interests.
Thank you. Throughout the campaign, our team organized a series of engaging events to foster a deeper understanding of IHL and its principles, as well as to emphasize the intersection between climate change and humanitarian action. We hosted 3 successful events during our campaign from March through May.
Our first virtual event, an introduction to IHL with the Lorax, provided an overview of what IHL is, IHL's fundamental principles, and this year's campaign theme, while incorporating a Lorax-themed environmental escape room to engage participants online and test their knowledge. We also utilized fun IHL icebreakers like Wordle.
To further extend our reach, we harnessed the power of in-person gatherings to spread crucial information about IHL. At a Territory 1/Northern Valley's in-person event, we provided pizza to attendees, with each plate containing an IHL fact at the bottom. This imaginative approach enabled us to reach additional individuals who could learn about IHL while enjoying their pizza. The focus of our T1 DGM was surrounding the environment and its sustainability. This made it the perfect opportunity for us to talk about IHL and how this applies to environmental issues around the world.
During IHL YAC Week and Earth Week, we implemented an approach called fact sheets in high schools throughout the Northern Valleys. And these fact sheets could be presented in Red Cross Club meetings, posted on social media, and more by youth volunteers in our territory. So many of the high schools in our territory posted these on their school or Red Cross Club Instagrams. The high school with the most participants in this Earth Week fact sheets was Shamnad High School, with 150 students reached in the classroom, and an additional 973 people reached through their school's student activities Instagram account.
Overall, we are very proud of T1's IHL YAC this year. We can see the growth that we've had in the YAC team we led this year. Although we started off the campaign unsure of what actions to take, with the support of our youth coordinators, our campaign really took off. Our youth coordinator helped us to think outside the box in ways to engage youth during in-person events or during special events like Earth Week. The teams have learned to rely on its members and collaborate with other organizations to reach a larger audience. Thank you for having us today at Symposium.
All right, thank you so much, Natalie and Mahadi, for that amazing presentation. That was phenomenal. Next up, we have Shalu, who is a rising sophomore at Sharon High School in Massachusetts and is the founder and president of her school's Red Cross Club. Since its official establishment in early October of 2022, the club has brought a diverse membership containing students from various grade levels. She has heard about YAC from an email to all Red Cross presidents, and her club was very eager to participate, and they were looking forward to contributing to meaningful causes together. And participating in YAC has been a very enriching program for Shalu and her club, because all together and collectively, they learned how to plan for an event, execute it, and most importantly, they learned how to productively debrief afterwards. They expanded on their strengths, like confidently talking about their campaign to groups of larger numbers, and proactively worked on their weaknesses by creating backup options just in case properly navigating the technology becomes an issue, minimizing performance glitches. Shalu's personal favorite of IHL 2022 to 2023 was returning to her local middle school to present to a group of student leaders. As a former student leader herself, having served as a grade officer from 6th grade all the way to 8th grade, it was a very rewarding experience for her to join the cycle of contributing to the next generation of leaders in our community. So Shalu, take it away.
Thank you for that introduction. We started our presentation process by creating posters, advertising dates, and the purpose for presenting. We first presented slides, videos, and interactive games to World Studies classes at my high school, which is a class that sophomores take exploring armed conflict, which was super relevant to our topic. So we got to be part of a curriculum with our presentation, and we'll return next year, so that was definitely very exciting. And we used a feedback form at the end, and it was really, really, really helpful in helping us prepare for the next presentation at the middle school for student leaders. And as Rebecca said in my introduction, it was really special and it was a great experience to continue to be part of that community. On the next slide, part of a larger group split up to handle social media. So we planned with applications like Canva, slides, and we experimented for a little bit. And we also used it for our 20 Days of IHL series, where we did short little stories about key concepts, real life examples, and the principles. And we also regularly posted about our progress. Overall, we learned how to organize events, carry them out, and for our games, we learned that Jolly Ranchers are really good incentives. They were also really good post snacks for presenters. We learned how to go over presentations together and how to use those conversations to help us next year by maybe starting a little bit earlier or creating different events or logging our participation better. Overall, our campaign went really well for our first time participating, and it was a super fun program to participate in. Thank you. And then with that, I'll also introduce Rebecca Lee. Rebecca Lee is a rising senior at Carmel High School in the North Central Division. Her team formed when she first introduced IHL to our club by showing videos about the topic and by discussing this year's theme. They also went over current events and used a campaign interest form. YAC shaped her by increasing awareness about current events and sparked a new passion to learn more about IHL's impact on daily life.
All right, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. So, hi everyone, I'm so happy to be presenting today on my campaign on IHL. And although I'm the only one who could be presenting in front of you all today, I'm happy to shout out my fellow campaign team members, Nancy, Chris, Seisha, and Ariush. So yeah, let's get started. So step one I took in order to successfully implement my IHL campaign was to first take it to my monthly club meetings. So my Red Cross Club meets every single month. And during those club meetings, I would introduce what IHL is, why it's important, as well as its various impacts around the community, and also based on today's, the 2023 theme, which was the environment and the armed conflict. And also in my club meetings, I would use an interest form in order to recruit IHL campaign team members, and I use an interest form on Google Forms to do that. Now, step two of my campaign was to finally brainstorm and present our project. So us as a team decided that the best course of action to make this successful was to use a trifold poster board. And on this poster board, we explained some similar things like IHL, why it's important, what it is, as well as some current events that are related to IHL. And in order to have a good incentive, we also brought candy, and our venue was the local culture fair at the library around our city. And at the library, after we presented, we also had an art contest where people were supposed to draw the important connection between IHL, armed conflict, as well as the environment. So really being able to draw that connection. So as you could see this picture right here, it is our team. I know it's a really good group photo. And the picture above that is just me, as well as a couple other team members presenting to people who were at the culture fair. And so below you could kind of see the examples of artwork people did. And I was really, really impressed, honestly. Like, these are really good. They were able to draw the connections really well. So this is more examples of the artwork. As you could see, like, some people took on that comic book story format. Other people did kind of like a campaigning type of format. It was overall really successful projects. So some statistics and takeaways from my campaign. At the culture fair itself, over 100 people directly visited our IHL presentation, which is amazing, especially that over 100 people visited in the span of 3 hours. And this ranged from various age groups, like even kids were interested in this, and even like some elderly members also came, which is really, really fascinating. And a good thing about our campaign is that we were able to land an interview with our school news team, and then it got broadcasted on our live announcements to our whole entire school. So Carmel High School, it's really big. It has over 5,200 students. So those people were all able to see our campaign during the live announcements process. So our reflection overall, I would say it was really, really successful, like 100% success. We were able to reach so many age groups. We were able to gauge great interest among these age groups as well. And we could really tell that IHL was really interesting to everyone, no matter the age group. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I truly appreciate it. Okay, our last presentation for the day, but certainly not least, is by Anvesha Sharda with Climate Crusaders. Her team formed after attending the National YAC Symposium last year, which was then the moment when her and her team thought it would be an amazing fit for the Manhattan, Kansas community where she is based in. YAC has shaped their future by bringing in many wonderful action-minded people into their lives. And they also learned a ton about the importance of education, especially for this year's topic and how it could be applied specifically to the Flint Hills. So Anvesha, take it away.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. That was an excellent introduction. We are super excited to share our campaign with you this year at the symposium. My name is Anvesha Sharda. I was the team lead.
My name is Raisa Hossein, and I was the financial lead.
And then my name is Helena Bontrager, and I was the collaboration lead.
Yep, and so this is just a quick overview of the Kansas Climate Crusaders collaboration-driven campaign. So really quickly, we just wanted to talk about why this was a really good fit for our region. Last year, when we attended the symposium, we were super excited to start because it was so focused on the environment. All of our team members are super environment minded. They're all part of the environmental club here at our school, and we're surrounded by a very unique environment, which is the Flint Hills and the Kansas Plains. So we really wanted to take a more local approach and show our campaign through the lens of Kansas. So yeah, that was really exciting for us to approach.
So we are going to move on to some of our non-collaborative events. So our first event was Socratic Under the Stars. So this event was essentially just an event where we kind of got to get to know our team and really bond with one another. And we also got to talk about the ideas that we wanted for this topic for the upcoming year. And then also we kind of just what the topic meant to us. We talked about that. So yeah, it was a really good team building activity. And then our second activity was our info novel at the Flint Hills Discovery Center. So we actually secured our own exhibition at the Flint Hills Discovery Center, and the Flint Hills Discovery Center is a local museum that kind of explains the history of the Flint Hills. So as a team, we extensively researched and interviewed local experts on the matter. And with our goal for this project was to inform people who visit the Discovery Center. So this would be like families, elementary and middle schoolers, tourists, and so many more people about the effects of armed conflict on the environment and how they can help our cause. And this was our most successful event. We reached over 500 people, and we continue to reach more as we expand destinations for our info novel. And as you can see, our info novel is on the right of the screen.
Yeah, so after those two events, our youth engagement lead, Kristen Cedar, kind of inspired us to choose a central characteristic to incorporate inside our campaign. So yeah, let's take a look at that. So the reason we chose collaboration was because Manhattan High School, the high school all three of us attend, is the only high school in our city, which means that we're also the only Red Cross in our city, one of the only ones in Kansas as a whole, especially one with an active IHL YAC group. And so we thought that, first of all, alongside collaboration, we'd be giving a lot of opportunity for learning for others, but also opportunity to incorporate new people in our campaign. And because all of the clubs within our school are all kind of small, you know, everyone has their own mission. It was a great kind of mutualistic relationship where we could give them you know, a platform to show their talents or their work while also incorporating them within our campaign. So our first collaborative event was with the art club here at our school, a very talented group of individuals who designed and produced these stickers that we ended up selling at here at the high school. And you can see Raisa there on the screen with her sticker. This was a super fun event for us. We got to work with the art club, really recognize their talents. And in that, we got to teach them about IHL so that they could, you know, make those stickers and really incorporate this year's topic and theme. My personal favorite is that top right one, which is like a heart, and then there are trees kind of sprouting out at the top. Very good symbol of kind of the inevitable intertwined nature of humans and the environment, and why we should protect it. So yeah, really embodying this year's theme in this sticker sale. The second one, all of us are wearing these the t-shirts that we made this year with the environmental club. So this was kind of this collaboration had to happen, obviously, with the nature of this year's topic with the environmental club. We also had the Kansas State University, which is the local university here. We had their students of environmental action kind of write us a report on what they thought of this year's topic. And so we got to incorporate their feedback in what we called this collab Project Heal. And it was, you know, a great way to incorporate the college students as well in our campaign and have them get involved with our action campaign. And then we obviously had these wonderful t-shirts to share with our schoolmates and some of those members of the Student for Environmental Action group at K-State. So yeah, and both of the funds from both this sale and the sticker sale went back to the Community Red Cross, where they have put it to numerous positive uses. So we were very grateful to not only Kansas State University and their group, but also to our environmental club for making this possible. And our final collaborative event of this year was a very, very unique collaborative event. We are all super excited to talk about this. We have a great club at our school called Civic Engagement Club, whose mission is to boost civil discourse and community discussion to find positive action-minded solutions within the community. So this discussion was focused obviously on the topic, how can we incorporate actual action items? How can we actually make a difference within the community? And that bottom screen, there's actually a picture of the software that we use. This picture is taken at the beginning of the discussion, where everyone has very different opinions on what we should do to approach this year's topic. And at the end, we had lots of people reach that green box, which is common ground. And they kind of basically discussed that, you know, we as a community should take these actions or these steps to either raise awareness of this year's topic or to just minimize armed conflicts effect on the environment overall.
So looking back at the impact of our campaign, one really big impact we had is involving education. So with our Flint Hills Discovery Center collaboration and Socratic seminars, we not only educated the public in Manhattan, Kansas, but we also educated our team members and our school. And this was a big thing that we had in mind during all of our events, even our Civic Engagement Club collaboration, just spreading as much awareness and information as possible. And we hope that interaction with our work will inspire those who read our info novel at the Flint Hills Discovery Center to take action like we did. And we also provided plenty of opportunity for future collaborations and for other people to get involved with IHL YAC. And we reached a much broader audience than we would have if we didn't collaborate. And our CDC community.
We're at our school right now, so yeah, go ahead.
Our Civic Engagement Club community conversation gave participants not only an opportunity to explore their own thoughts and others' perspectives, but also to investigate potential solutions and take action from that. And we also created many connections for the future as well through that collaboration. But most importantly, we connected with our Little Apple community. Even though our community is small compared to others, we all came together to really spread information about IHL YAC and how armed conflict impacts the environment. And we all had the mission to take time away from our lives to entertain our cause. And for that, we are eternally grateful. And this,
Diane Dennison to the front desk, please. Diane Dennison.
sorry. And last but definitely not least, we would love to thank our campaign members because none of this would have been possible without them. And our project wouldn't have been as fun and meaningful without them.
Yeah, so thank you so much, guys, for we are the last presentation, so lasting this long and listening to our presentation. And I hope we've inspired you to start an IHL in your community if you don't already have one, just like last year's symposium did for us. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation, Team Climber Crusaders. That was great. And all the teams that participated today, that was a wonderful presentation. Really appreciate you guys coming. And with that being said, and getting those presentations wrapped up, we have opened up, the Q&A. So please feel free to, use the chat feature to put in the questions or the Q&A feature and put in your questions and we'll get them answered. And with that being said, we already have our first question from Larissa. It's, what are the steps to form a youth action campaign and get started?
Yeah, I could totally answer this question. So one thing you could kind of get a feel on how to get started is visit the Red Cross main page, or you could just search on Google Red Cross IHL Youth Action Campaign, and then the first result you should see is a bunch of examples of many different YAC campaigns people did over the years. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see an option that if you want to start a campaign, then to contact your local chapter, or you could also contact IHL Youth at redcross.org. So any of those you could contact. Based on how to get started, I would suggest to advertise this as much as possible, either around your school or around your city. That's what personally I did. And also try to look at many different possible venues you could present at, and that will be really helpful because I guarantee you will definitely find at least one venue.
And I can also add on to that, also just like having the social media present would be really, really good to get that engagement and, further collaborate with organizations that you may not know of that might have really great new resources and, future networking opportunities. And yeah, and then the next question that we have from a participant is, if you had one piece of advice to give new advocates, what would you tell them?
With this one advice I would have to give new advocates is to never give up, always be persistent, and also be really passionate about your campaign, because you have to have the passion to really be able to recruit people who would campaign with you, but also do the effort to spread awareness about IHL around your school, your city, or any type of scale you want, really. So I would definitely say, definitely stay passionate. Be really aware of the resources around you, be aware of community events that you could potentially go to. And yeah, I guarantee that will be really, really successful in the long run.
Thank you for that. Also, Kaylee put in a wonderful link for you guys to, get more information on how to get started. We have another question. It's just saying, by attending this, do we get an hour? And if so, do we self-report them into the volunteer connection app?
Hey everyone, it's Larissa. I'm happy to take that. You are all welcome to add this to your Red Cross hours in Volunteer Connection. We love that you're supporting this program and learning more. And you heard a lot of our advocates are new to the program this year from these types of opportunities. So please log your own hours. You all have the access to do that. If you're not a Red Cross volunteer or part of our community, email us at ihlyouth@redcross.org. We'd love to get you involved. But you do need to manually add this hour. It's not connected to any kind of shift tool or anything like that. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us or your direct supervisor. But I know that there's some other great questions out there. I'll pass it back to everybody.
Yeah, I think Arya has a question, so please feel free.
So yeah, my question is what was the most rewarding experience you had during this campaign? And actually two questions. And another question is what did you gain from this experience?
Yeah, I could add a little bit on that. I would say the most rewarding thing is the amount of interest we gained. In my personal experience, I gained so much interest about IHL from all age groups. Like even the kids were really serious about the art competition, and some of the adults were too. They were really eager to win. So that was really good because they were like, they had the incentive, the initiative to really be able to learn more about IHL to really create that art piece. And so yeah, that would be the most rewarding part on my end. I would say the main thing I learned is really being able to create like a team to make this possible, and also many different types of communication skills to gauge this interest as well.
Yeah, I can also add on to that. One thing that was rewarding for me, I was the team lead for Abstract and Green. So one of the things that we did was, as Kirpa mentioned, was we collaborated with a charity called One Juma Charity, and they're from Uganda. So they got to tell us about their culture and like what type of difficulties they experience in Uganda, especially like gender biases, you know, the starvation aspects, and just not having enough resources to get that help, you know, and stuff like that. So I thought it was one of our best experiences that we got to experience, and just putting that on our podcast too. But yeah, and another question that we have, I think, okay, also before we get to the question, I know Larissa put a helpful link for anyone who's interested in YAC, doing YAC, so you guys can check that out in the chat. Another question that we have is, when does the next year's term start, and is there a place to register your program?
So honestly, with that question, I would suggest that there's not really like a limit on how early you could start. I know like some people really started in like November of 2022, which is really, really great. So an early start is really good, but of course, just take as much time as you need to really make an impact. That's all I could say with that. I know everyone's projects could take like a really different timeline. But if you could start early, that's also cool.
Yeah, and then to register your program and stuff like that, I think by just getting started with, if you have volunteer connection, just reaching out there and stuff like that. And there's also an email, IHLU@redcross.org, they can reach out to and, you know, start your campaign and stuff like that. I think those are all the questions that we have. Yeah, I think those are all the questions that we have. So I guess we're gonna wrap up for today. And yeah, okay. And so again, to reiterate, if you guys are interested in YAC for next year, just please contact that email that Larissa put out and stuff like that. And then the upcoming events, if someone could start the slides. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so the upcoming events that we would love for you guys to join are on July 28th, we have the Avengers IHL initiation event from 12 to 1 p.m. ET. And then on August 8th, we have the IHL YAC Summit Showcase at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. EST. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. That was really successful, and I, of course, appreciate all of your guys' time.